Good afternoon. My name is Kathy Morris, or as Sheila would say, my good friend who just happens to live next door. I have the distinct pleasure this afternoon of welcoming all of you here on behalf of Sheila to celebrate her life. And to all of those in the UK who are listening tonight, we are celebrating as well with her family, long-term friends, goddaughters, and perhaps others around the world that we don't even know about because we are streaming tonight. And I say tonight because it is tonight in the UK. Sheila would absolutely want me to thank all her friends and neighbors for support that they have given she and Ian over the past 2.5 years. Those that have brought in takeout, home-cooked meals, made visits, text endlessly, made phone calls, dropped her to doctor's appointments, took her on shopping trips. And I'm sure you all know who you are, and I'm not going to call names for fear of missing someone. But she was very, very appreciative and always wanted to figure out a way to reciprocate your kindness and your love. And she would ask me how maybe she could do that, and I know she did it in a lot of different ways. And the last thing that she asked me about was, how about lottery tickets? So has anybody won the lotto yet? God love her. Her true love was Bonnie the dog, and she said walking Bonnie was the best way to help her. She would want me to extend an extra special thank you to all the Bonnie walkers, and in particular to Joanne Thronson, who would take all the open spots and take the lead on running the calendar each month to make sure that Bonnie was walked twice a day. Thank you, Joanne. Some 15 years ago, Sheila shared with me that she and Ian had just gotten back from their annual physical. And of course, all of you that know Ian and Sheila, they had the same doctor and they went for the appointment at the same time. And they came home and Sheila said, the doctor said, you know, when one of you breathes in, the other breathes out. Well, being left brain as I am, I thought, now what does that medically mean? But over the years, I watched and observed this fabulous, loving couple, and I began to understand what it meant. If one breathed in, the other breathed out. It never left my thoughts, and over the years, I just kept watching and observing. And as I was with Sheila, holding Ian's left hand, and Sheila was holding Ian's right, and Ian took his last breath out, Sheila said, now I'm really vexed at him. And of course, I thought she was going to say, you know, he's died and left me. And I said, why, Sheila? Why are you vexed? She said, now he knows something I don't. He had breathed out, and she was still breathing in. And as you know, over the past 8 months after Ian passed, Sheila had more and more difficulty breathing in. And as I was with Sheila, as she took her last breath out, I am certain that she no longer is vexed with Ian, because she now knows what Ian knows, and they are home together, breathing in, breathing out. They're laughing, dancing, celebrating, bickering in their own British loving way, disease-free, having people around their table for dinner. Now I would like to introduce Tim Thronson, also a very good friend and just happens to be a neighbor, who will be officiating the service this afternoon. Tim has been a tremendous support to Ian and Sheila, reading to Ian, listening to music, watching British football, and later helping Sheila in countless ways administratively day to day. Tim, I will now turn the podium over to you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Kathy. It's beautiful. And thank you all for being present to help celebrate Sheila's life and to share our grief at her passing. We'd like to start by hearing from Sheila's niece, Beth Nicholson, who will read a thought-provoking poem titled "The Dash."
The Dash Poem by Linda Ellis. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone, from the beginning to the end. He noticed that first came the date of birth and spoke the following dates with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time that they spent alive on earth. And now, only those who love them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real, and always try to understand the way other people feel, and be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash?
Thank you for that, Beth. We're here to talk about exactly that, Sheila's dash. The time spent between her date of birth, which she tried to keep secret most of her life, to the date just a couple of short weeks ago when she passed to eternal life. Just a few brief words about the end of Sheila's dash to start. As many of you know, Sheila battled an extremely lethal pulmonary bacterial infection, but she would absolutely insist that we not remember her by the battle she fought, but rather the woman she was and the lives she touched. Nonetheless, I want to say a couple of things about that brief phase in her life. The first is that during her illness, she never lost her grace or gentleness. She never lost that twinkle in her eye. Even when fighting the terrible disease, she never lost that infectious, positive attitude. The aura that surrounded her personified hope. She never gave up that hope, knowing how much she was loved by family, friends, medical professionals who became friends, and all others who supported her throughout her difficult battle. And she battled her illness with courage and determination. She never gave up, never. The second thing I wanted to say is thank you, as I know she would do if she was here today, to all of you who cared for her and Ian during their time of illness. As I said, for Sheila, it was not about the end. Rather, it was about the dash. So now we'll hear from Sheila's niece, Rebecca Towers, about how Sheila spent a significant portion of her dash.
Hello, everybody. So first of all, do forgive me. I will be using notes today. Otherwise, I will just run on and on forever. So with that, I'll start. Dear Auntie Sheila, it was with broken hearts and a bounty of memories that we are saying a few words at your memorial service today. I'm going to say a few words on behalf of the entire Towers family, if I may. So whilst there is much to lament at your passing away far too soon, we can't help but feel that you would not want us to dwell on these sadnesses today, but instead celebrate the woman you were and the life that you had. So with this in mind, I canvassed the family for a few choice memories and thoughts about you. So here we go. First of all, Sheila Walsh single-handedly kept the British Postal Service in business for many years. With her correspondence and cards marking every birthday, anniversary, wedding, Christmas, Halloween, christening, I might have said that already, Valentine's Day and New Year's Eve. If there was a public holiday and a Hallmark card for it, she'd buy it and send it. And that's why we loved her. When it came to food, we learnt early on that you can take the lass out of Lancashire, but not Lancashire out of the lass. And when she came to visit the UK, she was the queen of the bacon butty. That's a sandwich if you live stateside. And we would stockpile her favourite cuts of ham as instructed by Sheila herself. Now, giving Elton John a run for his money for being absolutely fabulous, she and Ian loved to celebrate all manner of occasions in glitz and style, as anyone who has ever visited their home during Halloween, Thanksgiving or Christmas can testify. I suspect one day a bunker might be discovered under Capstone Drive, rammed floor to ceiling with sparkling decorations that the Walshes have amassed over their many years of entertaining. This passion to party, of course, extended to a virtual open house policy for visitors, making Sheila truly the hostess with the mostest. Radiating positivity, her personality lit up any room she walked into. And she was, of course, a raconteur of the very best order. She loved recounting stories and tales with a glint of mischief in her eye. And she never stopped marvelling at people and their rich and varied lives. Naturally funny, she also had a serious side and felt strongly about many issues and causes, and was never afraid to say what she thought. She was truly her own woman. But of course, I think we remember her particularly with regard to her interest in animal rights and protection, and the many charities she supported over the years to help improve the welfare of animals. Needless to say, that she was always a huge support during life's most difficult times, and for us that included the time our mother and her sister Maria passed away. She was also incredibly interested and involved in the lives of her great nieces and nephews, delighting in their births, development and achievements. They will miss her dearly. So I want to take this moment to thank everyone gathered at the memorial service today in the US, and of course those who couldn't make it. We send you our love and our gratitude for being such wonderful friends, neighbours and yayas. Living so far away, we will be eternally grateful that you are all and have been such supportive and kind and fun-loving friends of Sheila and Ian. I know Auntie Sheila wanted people to remember Uncle Ian, how he was before his ALS took hold. And I suspect that she felt this keenly too. So with this in mind, I wanted to close this remembrance by sharing a photo with you all. It was taken in 1989, and fittingly for the Walshes, it was taken after a large family gathering at a restaurant in Lancashire. If you just bear with me a second and I will show you. There it is. I'm going to get it. So I think this photo shows Sheila and Ian, the joy and companionship that they shared over many, many years. And it's images and memories such as these that we will all cherish. Of that I am certain. So, which leaves me just to say on behalf of the Towers family, that's Robert, Rebecca, Joanna, Samantha, Chris and Beth, and great nieces Indy, Poppy, Holly and Mary, great nephews Felix, Elliot and Jacob, and our partners Edwina, Nick, Anthony, Andy, Pia and Tim. Auntie Sheila, we miss you so much already. And we love you to the moon and back.
Thank you for that, Rebecca. Awesome memories and a beautiful tribute. For those in the chapel here in Raleigh, please excuse me for just a minute while I share a few words with Sheila's family members, most who have joined us via live stream. No one knows Sheila better than you. She loved you all dearly, and she spoke of you regularly. We often heard stories about you and have been kept up to date in what's going on in many of your lives. She had the most inspiring love for her family. Every time she shared one of her family's stories, her eyes would light up with the most amazing shine, a shine that could never go unnoticed. She worked hard to keep up with all of you and know as much as she could about what was going on in your lives. She and Ian would have regular conversations about what was happening with family members in the UK. I'm certain you know it, but please allow me to say it one more time on behalf of Sheila. You were and you are deeply loved. And from all of Sheila's neighbors and friends in the US, in which I include myself, we want to tell you that you couldn't have sent two better ambassadors of goodwill to our country than Sheila and Ian Walsh. The service opened up with Sir Elton John's song titled Candle in the Wind in 1997, which is often referred to as Goodbye English Rose. Our apologies to those on the live stream. You didn't hear the song being played for copyright reasons, but I'm fairly certain you know the song to which I refer. It will be played again at the end of the service, so we apologize again in advance that you will not hear the song being played as the service concludes. Of course, we know that Sir Elton's songwriter, Bernie Taupin, wrote those lyrics to the tune of Candle in the Wind. The world watched in awe as Sir Elton performed the arrangement flawlessly, beautifully, and fittingly for the funeral of Princess Diana. A quick side note for our American friends who, like me, may not fully appreciate the meaning of the term English rose. English rose is the description that may be applied to a naturally beautiful woman or girl who is associated with England. The description has a cultural reference to the national flower of England, the rose, and its long tradition with English symbolism. And for us, Sheila was our English rose. For us, Sheila was our Princess Diana. So there's a stanza in the song that speaks loudly, maybe even screams in pain to all of us who have had the privilege of knowing Sheila and spending time with her. The stanza goes like this: loneliness we've lost, these empty days without your smile. This torch we'll always carry for your nation's golden child. And even though we try, the truth brings us to tears. All our words cannot express the joy you brought us through the years. Those words describe how we feel about the English Rose we knew and who walked among us. And one final thing to share with you, dear family members. Please know that your dear aunt, your dear great aunt, your dear grandmother, and/or your dear friend was well cared for and well loved in America. She lived her life to the fullest up until her final days. Sheila and Ian often talked about how they loved their home in Raleigh. As they became ill, they expressed a strong desire to stay in their home as long as possible. And thanks to their fabulous friends, an informal and impromptu support network was put together like I've never seen before. Because Sheila had so many friends, the network of love and care was built quickly and easily. Sheila had someone to help her get groceries, sort out the bills, take her to the doctor, change a light bulb, fix a lock, repair the exterior, share a drink, water the plants, take out the trash, accompanying her on visits to the lawyer, to the bank, to the hospital, and walk her dog Bonnie twice a day, every day, for over a year by neighbors and friends. If she wanted or needed it done, there were numerous friends willing to do it, but please don't misunderstand me. Sheila did everything she had the physical ability to do, and she rarely asked for help. But as her health declined, friends and neighbors insisted on helping. Dozens have helped, and dozens more waited in the wings, ready to be called upon and willing to help at a moment's notice. So I think it's important for you to know that other than a long weekend stay in the hospital that ended in her unfortunate and untimely death, Sheila was able to spend her final days in her home that she so dearly loved, with friends she so dearly loved, with the dog she so dearly loved, and in communication with all of you who she so dearly loved. It's how Sheila wanted to live and die, a mad dash to the end of her dash, and what a mad dash it was. May the good Lord now grant her the love, peace, and comfort that is beyond all human understanding. Let's turn now to the reading of a beautiful poem by Sheila's niece, Samantha Cole.
This is a poem that reminds me of my mum, and now it reminds me of my Auntie Sheila. Death is nothing at all. I've only slipped away into the next room. I am I, and you are you. Whatever we were to each other, that we still are. Call me by my old familiar name. Speak to me in the easy way which you always used. Put no difference in your tone, wear no forced air of solemnity or sorrow. Laugh as we always laughed at the little jokes we enjoyed together. Pray, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name be ever the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken without effect, without the trace of a shadow on it. Life means all that it ever meant, is the same as it ever was. There is unbroken continuity. Why should I be out of mind because I am out of sight? I am waiting for you, for an interval, somewhere very near, just around the corner. All is well.
Yes, in fact, Samantha, death is nothing at all. And thank you for that beautiful poem. It's so fitting for Sheila and so fitting for the occasion. Please allow me to take a few minutes to build on the thoughts in the poem Samantha eloquently recited. Consider this for just a minute. The entire rainbow of light and color observable to the human eye only makes up a tiny portion of the entire spectrum of light and energy. The range of wavelengths we call visible light is only 0.0035% of the entire spectrum of light and energy, or about 1/3 of 1%. To put that into perspective, if you took the entire electromagnetic spectrum of light and stretched that spectrum like a measuring stick or a yardstick from the city of Los Angeles to the city of New York, the visible range that you would be able to see is equal to the size of a dime. The size of a dime, that's it. Visible light makes up the size of a dime on a spectrum that spans the entire United States of America, and that spectrum is stretching across the United States diagonally. I don't know about you, but I can't get my mind wrapped around being able to see the entire spectrum of light that exists, light beyond the currently visible light. It's simply impossible for me to imagine the colors and the beauty that exists in a world we can't see. While we know the entire spectrum of light exists, and we know it's there, it's beyond all human understanding how beautiful the colors are that we can't see. It's impossible for us to imagine. It's also a scientific fact that the human ear can hear up to 10 octaves of sound. A piano can play 7 octaves. A guitar can play just shy of 4 octaves. Scientists believe that there's an infinite number of octaves that exist. Once again, though my brain can grasp the concept of an infinite number of octaves or frequencies, it's beyond my understanding, and I think beyond all human understanding, of what it would be like to have the ability to hear an infinite number of frequencies. And speaking of difficult concepts to understand, Sheila was fascinated by space and the incomprehensible vastness of our universe. Consider the first photographs from the James Webb telescope that was recently deployed. The first image is an incredibly detailed capture that shows a galaxy cluster as it appeared 4.6 billion years ago. 4.6 billion years, and we're just getting a small glimpse of it. That's looking back almost to the beginning of the universe. The light has taken that many billions of years to get from those galaxies to us. The images we've seen are pretty, they're bright, and they're full of color and astounding detail. They're clearer than anything we've ever seen. But the thing that blows my mind about this tiny blip of space is that each of those colors, dots, or specks are not stars. They're entire galaxies. Yes, each one is an entire galaxy, not unlike our vast Milky Way galaxy. And then consider this. The clusters we see are probably long dead. The snapshot in time captured in the photo was what it looked like 4.6 billion years ago. That hurts my head just to think about. It's nearly beyond all human understanding that we're looking back in time to within 1 billion years after the Big Bang when viewing the youngest galaxies in the field, certainly well beyond what my simple mind can grasp. And finally, consider this. Sheila can now see the entire light spectrum. She now hears an infinite number of frequencies, and she sees the entire universe, not just the little clip from the James Webb telescope that gives us a minute picture that is 4.6 billion years old. And the really amazing thing is that she now understands how it all fits together. She sees, she knows what Ian knows. She now has the understanding that is beyond all human understanding. Having all things revealed, seeing unimaginable colors, enveloped in a love so tender and precious that no being would ever want to leave, and hearing unimaginable sounds. I can't imagine the beauty, the warmth, and the bliss of her heavenly home. I never will on this side of eternity, because it's the peace, it's the comfort, and it's the love beyond all human understanding. And we too will experience the same thing when we are reunited with Sheila and Ian when we return home. Sheila and Ian's nephew from Ian's side of the family, Michael Walsh, will now share with us 3 beautiful memories he has of Sheila and Ian.
Hello everyone, I'm Michael. I'm Auntie Sheila's youngest nephew, and it's with great sadness that we're here again today for the passing of Auntie Sheila, so shortly after the passing of Uncle Ian in November last year. Auntie Sheila was a wonderful human being, a wonderful person who was filled with love and joy for life, and it's that love that I want to remember today. And there are 3 particular things that stick out for me. Firstly is her love for Raleigh, the place itself, and her friends there, and her love for her extended family back in Lancashire. Secondly is her love of her dogs, and last but by no means least is her love of Uncle Ian. So her love of Raleigh and her friends, I had the privilege and the pleasure to visit Uncle Ian and Auntie Sheila many times in Raleigh, and was able to meet her wonderful friends, the Hats, the Yar-Yars, her fantastic next door neighbours, Kathy and Sam, and we had some wonderful times there together, barbecuing on their deck, drinking amazing wine, eating fantastic steaks, barbecuing at Kathy and Sam's, going out to some of the most wonderful restaurants in Raleigh. And I particularly remember Uncle Ian's 70th birthday, when the house was filled with people, all of whom were there for Uncle Ian, but just showing the amount of friends that they both had. And Auntie Sheila often talked to me about the support that friendship network gave her, how it felt like a true home for her, always understanding that she is a Lancashire lass, but she felt completely supported there, absolutely loved by her friends, and I know she loved them very, very much indeed. She also often talked about her extended family in Lancashire and her nieces there, and I know she found it very difficult that she was unable to see them and to see more of me and of my elder brother Peter. So yeah, she was a person who was filled with love for those people who were special to her, and those people made a huge amount of difference to her, and she brought a huge amount of love and joy to our lives. Second thing for me is her love of her dogs, and Sheila always had a dog, always a small dog, generally Yorkies or King Charles Spaniel. But the dog that I remember most fondly is Angel, a little Yorkshire Terrier, the size of a squirrel, but with a personality the size of a dog 10 times her actual size. She was hilarious, and I remember so fondly being in stitches with Uncle Ian and Auntie Sheila, watching her antics as she would go out onto the deck with her toys, yapping at anything, everything, quite often nothing. And I'm sure that Kathy and Sam heard that on many occasions too. And I also remember one hilarious occasion when there was the big black cat from next door who was sitting at the front door, and little Angel thought that she was going to scare it off. This cat, by the way, was bigger than Angel. Thought she would scare it off, ran down the hallway, got towards the door, realised the cat wasn't moving, anchored on, and then just slid along the polished wooden floor and headbutted the door. We were all just in fits of laughter, but that was typical of Angel. And I think Angel brought real joy, and her dogs brought real joy to Auntie Sheila, and they were animals that were loved more than some human beings are. And I know when I spoke to Auntie Sheila towards the end, she found it very difficult that she couldn't walk her dog. So yes, her animals are always something that I will associate with her, those lovely dogs and those special moments that I was able to witness. And last but not least is Auntie Sheila's love of Uncle Ian. They were absolutely meant for each other, and the times that I spent with them and saw them together showed me just what a wonderful couple they were, and the deep, deep love that they had for one another. That's not to say that she didn't often tell him off, because she did, and I witnessed that many times. He used to annoy her. She used to tell him off for all sorts of things. He was always in trouble, but it was always done with real deep love, real affection, and there was no doubt at all that they were incredibly in love, and the most wonderful couple. And I think, in truth, once Uncle Ian passed, that deeply affected Auntie Sheila, and I don't think she ever recovered. In the times that I spoke to her after Uncle Ian's passing, I just saw her slowly fade away, and it was incredibly difficult at the end when she was as weak and as frail as she was. But I choose to remember Auntie Sheila the way that she was for the majority of her life with Uncle Ian, a wonderful, happy, joyful person who would bring love and joy to people's lives. Whenever I was with Auntie Sheila, or whenever I spoke to Auntie Sheila, she would always make me feel good about myself. She would always big me up. She would always make me feel special. She would always make me feel loved, and she would always make me recognise and appreciate the things that I'd sometimes forgotten or didn't appreciate. So Auntie Sheila, you will be deeply missed. I know you will be deeply missed by your friends, by your family, and you absolutely will be deeply missed by me. You will always be loved, and I will always remember you. Rest in peace.
Thank you, Michael. Such a beautiful tribute to a beautiful couple. I'd like to add to what Michael has said. What made Sheila so special to all of us here in the United States? She was always prim and proper. She always knew the proper thing to say or do. And she expected you to mind your P's and Q's as well, as we all should very well do. Sheila had class and was always a class act. She was kind to everyone she encountered. No one was a stranger in Sheila's world, only friends she hasn't yet met. Sheila was kind, always kind, and she had a tender heart, particularly for animals. As you know, she had a special relationship with dogs throughout her life, and Bonnie, what can I say about Bonnie that you don't already know? But so too was Sheila fascinated with the intersection of nature and animals. She loved to watch the birds that visited her feeder, the blue jays that tipped over the bird baths, the eagles that soared over the lake behind her house, the little bunny rabbits that visited daily, the hummingbirds who all seemed to know that she changed her feeders regularly, the hawks that nested near her home, and the squirrels that dug in her plants. She was fascinated with all of it. While all of those traits are endearing, the thing that made Sheila special, and the reason she has so many friends, is because she cared, and she cared deeply. Before she and I would start on any task at her house, and before she would answer how's she doing or how she's feeling, she always wanted to know what was going on in my lives, in Joanne's life. How was dinner last night? Where did you go? What did you eat? Who went with you? How was your board meeting? What's new in the neighborhood? What do you have going on this weekend? How are Emily, Christy, and Joel? And what about those dogs, the big boys, as she called them? How was your trip to see your family in Iowa? All of that, before we could talk about anything else. Why did she ask so many questions? Was it because it was the proper thing to do? Maybe that had a little something to do with it. But the real reason she asked so many questions is because she cared enough to know the storyline of my life, of your lives. She was asking because she really wanted to know. She asked those questions because she cared, and she cared deeply. She knew the joys and the sorrows in most of our lives. Not only did she know them, but she shared in them as well. And that is what made Sheila special to us. So if you would like to honor Sheila and/or carry on her legacy, care. Care deeply. Look out for your neighbor who is struggling. Help that lady who begs on the curb outside of Harris Teeter. Visit and care for those with debilitating diseases. Make time to chat with your neighbors. Volunteer. Adopt a pet. Call your family members. Send cards and letters. Gather your family members. Mend that relationship you've been meaning to mend for years. Surprise someone. Invite the new person to dinner. The world is kinder and gentler because Sheila and Ian lived. Now that they've gone to their eternal reward, it's on us to continue their legacy. The world needs us. Won't you do your part to care for others in the way Sheila and Ian taught us, by the way they live their lives? What will your dash represent? Sheila and Ian's nephew from Ian's side of the family, Peter Walsh, and his wife Claire will now share a tribute to Sheila.
Hi, Auntie Sheila. This is Peter and Claire. I can say as a family we are deeply saddened to have lost two of our favourite people in such a short space of time.
We find it really difficult, to be fair, that we've lost her so quickly after Uncle Ian. She was a massive inspiration to us. She had a huge heart. Her arms were always open wide. She was always positive. And we had some amazing memories that we created together. Our trips to Raleigh where we used to go to Ruth's Chris, when she used to say hot coffee, and the Americans found her accent so hilariously funny and fascinating. The beach house Angel, when we used to do cookouts, her beautiful home that she welcomed us into. Calm and kind was how my son described her. And I also found her really hilariously funny, because she always used to say to me, whatever you're thinking, I've been there, done it. I've got the t-shirt. And I'm sure there was an element of a broken heart that took Sheila to Ian sooner than I think anyone would have imagined. We certainly didn't. And we try and take comfort in that as a family, that she's now with the love of her life, and we kind of look at that as the most romantic love story. I mean, we will miss her implicitly. Words can't really describe how we feel about it as a family.
Okay, rest in peace, Auntie Sheila. You will forever be in our hearts. We love you forever, and bye for now.
We love you.
Thank you, Peter and Claire. It's a beautiful love story indeed. And now Sheila and Ian are part of the most beautiful love story ever told. And we too can look forward to being part of that continuing love story when our day comes as well. My beautiful bride, Joanne, and I spent many late nights gathered around the Walsh's dining table, and other nights gathered around our dining table, discussing current events, animals, Boris Johnson, history, politics, the royals, war, ethics, Donald Trump, philosophy, and nearly every time, theology. Now, wine may have been involved, as lots of fine wine was typically consumed by the end of the night. But the topics ranged all the way from, what do you think is on the other side of life, to what's a good death, to the authority of the Pope and the apostolic line of succession, to reincarnation, to private grammar schools run by religious organizations, to free will, to why bad things happen to good people, to what is faith, and everything, and I do mean everything in between. But at the beginning of every dinner, we would say grace. When we would have dinner at Ian and Sheila's house, she would always ask me to lead the blessing for the Christians at the table. I'm confident that Sheila would approve of us offering one final blessing, one for Sheila and one for those who mourn the loss. So before we go our separate ways, let us take leave of our sister. May our farewell express our affection for her. May it ease our sadness and strengthen our hope. One day, we shall joyfully greet her again when the love of our Creator, which conquers all things, destroys even death itself. Into your hands, O Lord, we humbly entrust our sister. In this life you embraced her with your tender love. Deliver her now from every evil and bid her eternal rest. The old order has passed away. Welcome her into paradise, where there is no sorrow, no weeping or pain, but fullness of peace and joy. Lord God, you entrusted her to us, and now you embrace Sheila in your love. Take her into your arms together with Ian and all those who have died. Comfort us, your servants, who seek to do your will and to know your peace. We bid farewell and good night to your physical body, Sheila, as we know that you will live forever and be in spirit. And we look forward to the day when we are all united again in one spirit. And now for those who mourn the passing of Sheila to eternal life. Grief is the price we pay for love. We pray that we will have the blessing of being consoled. May we know in our souls that there is no need to be afraid. When our time comes, may we be given every blessing and shelter we need. May there be a beautiful welcome for us in the home to which we are all going. We are not going somewhere strange. We are going back to the home that we never left. May we be peaceful and happy and in the presence of those who really care for us. May our going be sheltered and our welcome assured. May our souls smile in the embrace of our dear friends, and may the road rise up to meet us. May the wind be always at our back. May the sunshine be warm upon our faces. May the rains fall upon our fields. And until we meet again, may God hold us in the palm of his hand.
This is a poem that reminds me of my mum, and now it reminds me of my Auntie Sheila. Death is nothing at all. I've only slipped away into the next room. I am I, and you are you. Whatever we were to each other, that we still are. Call me by my old familiar name. Speak to me in the easy way which you always used. Put no difference in your tone. Wear no forced air of solemnity or sorrow. Laugh as we always laughed at the little jokes we enjoyed together. Pray, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name be ever the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken without effect, without the trace of a shadow on it. Life means all that ever meant, is the same as it ever was. There is unbroken continuity. Why should I be out of mind because I am out of sight? I am waiting for you, for an interval somewhere very near, just around the corner. All is well.